and he plans on playing through the pain of 2 broken ribs. You know, admirable. Tough guy. Here we go. On to wide receivers. Oh, real quick. Running back rundown again. Number 1, Adrian Peterson. 2, Reggie Bush. 3, Ronnie Brown. 4, Matt Forte. 5, Brian Westbrook. Asterisk. Okay. Wide receivers. Number 1. The guy making his return this week. A lot of, what's the word? A lot of controversy swirling around this player and some comments he's made. His actions off the field. Blah blah blah. Plaxico Burress. Don't think that means he won't perform on the field. Plaxico Burress shows up on Sunday. All right. This Sunday they're at Cleveland. The Giants are at Cleveland. I've already said Eli's going to have a big game. Last week the Giants. Who did they play? Who did they play? Last week the Giants were at home against Seattle without their number 1 receiver and lit the scoreboard up for 44 points. It just completely blows Seattle out. This week, they're Monday Night Football with the whole world watching, and we've all seen how they respond to that public spotlight, if you remember last year's Super Bowl. This week, those same Giants have their number 1 receiver back, and they're playing, in my opinion, an equally bad or perhaps worse team than Seattle and Cleveland. So I do think that Plaxico Burress will have a giant welcome back week, and hopefully everyone will then shut up about all this off-the-field nonsense. Fantasy football, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Unless it means he's going to miss more time, then of course it does. But I'm telling you, if they allow Plaxico to play every Sunday, he's still going to be Plaxico Burress. And to me, he's the number 1 receiver this week. Number 2, I like Greg Jennings at Seattle. Listen, we went over this. Seattle can't stop anyone. And no one can stop Greg Jennings. So put that together. He's the number 2 receiver. He's having a great year. Point per reception leagues, he's a monster. All right, but even in just touchdown and yardage only leagues, he's still a top 5 receiver. This guy's in the end zone every week. Since he got in a few weeks ago, but he still started off the season with a lot of yards and a lot of catches, which in point per reception leagues is just about as good as catching touchdowns. So Greg Jennings, you know, now and for the next 7-8 years is going to be just a top-notch receiver. So hopefully you have him like I do, and you can hold on to him. Number 3, again, a bounce back performance, and this is an ultimate bounce back because this guy posted a fat offer last week. Santana Moss, Washington Redskin receiver. If you remember me talking about the quarterbacks, Washington's going against St. Louis. They're at home against St. Louis. Washington's looked better and better each week. Santana Moss, besides last week, has had nothing but big outings. So I do think he returns to form this week in a big way at home against St. Louis. Look out for Santana Moss to go for about 160 and a touchdown or 2. That's my guess. Number 4, and this is a guy that doesn't have a good matchup, but another bounce-back guy, Brandon Marshall, Denver wide receiver Brandon Marshall, who didn't do too much last week for Denver, and kind of disappointing. After his first week back, he catches 18 balls. Last week, I think he catches 3, something like that. 3 or 4, not many. Not a big part of the offense last week. Now, Jacksonville has a tough defense, for sure. But Eddie Royal, the number 2 receiver in Denver, went down last week in the second quarter. I know because it hurt me. I think he rolled his ankle really bad, and though x-rays came back negative, he'll probably be held out of the lineup this week. Therefore, Brandon Marshall, not that he wouldn't have a big week anyway, because he always does, but he's the only receiver to throw to now. I think Brandon Stokely maybe over there in Denver, but I mean, come on, how many catches is he going to hawk away from Brandon Marshall? It's all about Brandon Marshall in Denver. Even though you're playing Jacksonville, expect a big bounce back week and a score and a ton of catches for Brandon Marshall. Number 5, another guy who's not going up against a weak defense. He's on here strictly for his ability to show up every week. This guy, and Elwood, you'll like this, Reggie Wayne, Indianapolis Colts wide receiver. Listen, the one constant thing in Indy this year has been Reggie Wayne. All right, everything else has been up in the air, craziness. Who knows what to guess? Is Joseph Adai going to be good? Is he not? Some weeks it's like he's not even playing. Other weeks he's just punching in touchdowns. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. All right? Like I said earlier, the guys leading the league have 6. So it's not like Adai hasn't been playing. It's just you don't know what week you're going to get him in. Marvin Harrison has been hit or miss, mostly miss, a little hit, mostly miss. Peyton Manning is scrambling around. He just doesn't look as poised and calm. A lot of that's probably the offensive line, but the one thing that remains constant is Reggie Wayne. This guy always catches touchdowns. He's always pushing 100 yards receiving, and he's always got a touchdown. This week will be no different. I know Indy's playing Baltimore, who is just a punch-you-in-the-face kind of defense, and we like that around here at the Fantasy Football Face Punch. But I'm saying that Reggie Wayne may be the only Colt worth plugging in this week. Listen, I got to roll. I'm playing Peyton Manning and Joseph Adai. I have those guys on my team, and you have to run with them every week. But you know going in that they have their work cut out for them against Baltimore, and the one guy, the one constant, the one steady you can count on is Reggie Wayne. So he's in there in my top 5, so he should be there every week. And wide receivers went like this: Plexico Burress number 1, number 2 Greg Jennings, number 3 Santana Moss, 4 Brandon Marshall, 5 Reginald Wayne. All right, so if you have those guys, looking decent. Tight ends this week, and this was hard for me. And you remember last week, I just skipped over tight ends. I said, I don't know, man. You get Witten, and then the rest of them, and then there's 6 or 7 guys that are about in the same league after that, and then the guys after that are terrible. I mean, they show up once out of every 4 weeks. Tight ends are just not doing it this year. I think we're seeing a lot more tight ends because of these defensive schemes, getting all the different kinds of pressures on the quarterbacks. It's becoming so popular in the NFL. I think what we're seeing is a lot of tight ends being forced to help out with the pass blocking because of all the crazy pressure and schemes and blitzing that we're seeing. It's really kind of taken the tight end out of the game plan on offense. It doesn't seem like tight ends are doing as much as they usually did. So if you don't have a guy like Witten, you really don't know what you're going to get, but it probably won't be anything too consistent. Now, my number 1 tight end for this week is a guy who was really non-existent in week 1, but has since steadily been putting up somewhat better numbers, and I think he had a monster game last week. I like Chris Cooley this week, as Washington, like we said before, plays host to St. Louis. Chris Cooley, tight end, should have a nice game. Jason Campbell's going to have a good game. St. Louis, horrible defensively. I can't imagine Chris Cooley having to stay behind and help out with the pass blocking too much, freeing him up to go run his routes, and Jason Campbell likes to hit Cooley when he's able to run his routes. Number 2, Jason Witten at Arizona. But like I said, bottom line, Jason Witten is really the only consistent tight end in the league. He really is. It's the way it's been so far. Now, we've only been through 5 weeks, but through 5 weeks, that's how it's looked. There's really no consistent tight ends. Jason Witten. Number 3,